you're still a Nikon shooter primarily.
Yep.
So what are you actually looking forward to in 2016?
So in 2016, there was going to be a lot of things. There's obviously the Canon 5D Mark IV, which is rumored to be announced either at the end of February or March. You're going to have the Canon 1DX2 or whatever, which is being announced in a week or two. So there's all that stuff. You have the 500 D5. But the thing I guess I'm most excited about, or that I think really needs to happen, and we touched upon this a little bit, was that there was the rumor that Nikon bought out Samsung's mirrorless full frame line. And it turns out that that necessarily wasn't the case, or didn't really fully happen or anything like that. The thing that I think I'm excited for, and Canon has been putting out patents and really trying to develop it and leaking things, of putting out a full frame mirrorless camera. Not this cruddy Nikon J1, J5 systems or anything, but an actual full frame A7R2 competitor in regards to the Nikon line. If you can adapt the Nikon lenses to this thing, it will be killer. And maybe it won't happen in 2016, maybe early 2017, but I think that one thing I would really look forward to is that. And you're already versed in the system. I already have the Nikon line of things. I would just go full in with that because they already have everything built in, kind of. And it seems like,
to be honest with you, I hope that they do. But because Sony kind of got in on the mirrorless market, they actually saw the potential and didn't just treat it as like some sort of consumer fad like Nikon did. That now Nikon almost has a vested interest in not going mirrorless, because really the only other competition that they have right now is Canon with the DSLRs. But if they got into the mirrorless line, then they would have competition from two sides. And I think Sony in sales would probably crush them. But I think for the Nikon users, had they released something that was feature rich and capable on a mirrorless level a year ago when I swapped to Sony, I would probably still be with Nikon right now.
But that's the problem. A lot of these brands, you're always behind. They don't always innovate. And that's why Sony, like you said, Sony jumped out there. But I think that's what needs to happen. I think Nikon needs to release, or Canon or whatever, but one of those big other brands, I don't say big brands, needs to release some kind of full frame camera this year.
So if Nikon was going to release a full frame mirrorless camera, what would you actually want to see in it? Like like, I know there's not much out there to compare to. Again, we have to go back to my brand, which is Sony. Do you want to see it like a megapixel beast like the A7R? Would you rather see it have a nice balance between maybe say like 24 to 30 megapixels and still be able to do some maybe super or would you prefer it to be more like an A7S Mark II where it's got low megapixel count, good enough for stills that are going to be printed in most regular sizes, 8x10 and below, maybe something like that? I mean, which direction would you like to see them go if they actually develop one?
100% the A7S route, lower megapixels. If you give me 18 to 20 megapixels, I'm blown away. If you want to give me 12, once again, I have owned the Ds. I used to own the D700 for 3 years at this point, and I loved the workflow of 12 megapixels. So anything between 12 and 20 is fantastic. 16 to 20 would be ideal, I guess, now in 2016, just to get a little bit more depth with it. Sure. But with that, it has to do 4K. It can't be any of this janky 4K where you're getting these 3-minute clips and overheating all this kind of stuff. You really need to, hit that out of the park. You need to keep your audio jacks. You have to have two card system that you, like we were saying in your video on your channel, and however we're cutting this up, but it needs to have two kind of SD cards, or probably CFast at that point, because I think Nikon's pushing, or CFast is pushing into the market a lot more because it's getting a little bit more affordable for people. I hope that they don't use XQD cards. God damn, do not use those cards. I don't want them. They're too expensive.
I think they're going to end up replacing SD cards though, and I'd say that they probably
will.
Or I'd say they probably only have about another year left before they fully and completely take over. Now, I still think there's going to be plenty of places for SD cards, but for anyone looking to kind of stay on the bleeding edge, XQD is probably going to overtake SD in a matter of, I'm going to say 8 to 12 months, honestly.
Well, we will have this on record to see if you were right or wrong by the end of the year or so. Yeah. But you just need that. I'm not asking for much. The 4K video would be nice. Is it essential? Absolutely not. But if you're going to pay $2,000, $2,500 for something like this, which is, I think it would have to be, but you could still mount your Nikon current lenses, your F mounts and everything. I think that's what you would need. And I think that's something that is crucial for Nikon to stay more competitive with everything. It's just kind of stagnant to me. I mean, these D500s might sell. They may or may not. It seems like they will. They were a little bit overpriced.
Sure.
For being a crop sensor camera, but people will go crazy over it. The D5 is only for the D4S users out there who just upgrade just to do it, just to have the newest tech. But there needs to be something else out in the market unless Sony can get their shit together to get a better lens line, or they can adapt more lenses to it. I don't know. That's what I think. Nikon really kind of needs to do something, or Canon. I'm agnostic at this point. Canon can do something too.
I got to be honest. I think that if it hadn't been for the ability to adapt either old film lenses or adapt just legacy glass in general to the Sony line, I don't think that it would have done as well as it has. But just giving people the option to compensate for the flange distance and all that has really kind of pushed Sony in a very unique spot.
It's true.
In proprietary systems compete with themselves really, because they have this closed architecture that they don't want anyone else to have access to, because they've invested so much money in R&D and tech and all that kind of stuff that they don't want anyone else using all the fruits of their labor. So Nikon's in kind of a tough spot, really.
I mean, we'll see. That's what makes it interesting. But for something exciting for me to happen in 2016, there's not much to get me left. There's lenses that'll come out. There's these new 5D Mark IVs and all whatever. Cool. They're the typical stuff. It's got to be something different to really get me excited.